The Dad.
Rock and roll!
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Feel, don't think.
Fear is my ally.
The Force will be with you.
We are encouraged to love. Be mindful of your thoughts.
I will not betray the Republic.
Hey, your worship, I'm only trying to help.
Scruffy-looking nerf herder.
I'm not afraid.
You must unlearn what you have learned. Well, bye.
So one of the things that we should pay attention to, Stacy, over from Cameron's Patreon, Stacy Ballard brought this up, and that is the fact that Kennedy admitted, without admitting it, that she had not been involved in Lucasfilm decisions in 2.5 years. And when she talked about movies that had been talked about, like the James Mangold movie, the Taika Waititi movie, etc., she didn't talk about anything current. And that should have been a heads up. And another thing about the interview that people, I don't think, really paid attention to, one of the other subscribers at Cam's Patreon said that this was Stacy said this is an old interview. She did it on December 18th. That's how long ago, about a month ago. And it was just this whole idea of her leaving. She didn't get any fanfare. She didn't get any, her Viking funeral or anything. Nobody cared anymore in Hollywood. And you can tell by what Matt Bellany said, and a few others. Of course, Jeff Snyder, whom I do respect a lot, kissed her ass, and I basically said, we can't hear what you're saying because the fact that Kathy's butt is muffling your words, So you're going to have the people who probably really don't know what's going on attempt to give her cover. And then you're going to have people like Matt Bellany who just flat out mock what happened. And then you're going to have people at the Wrap who do the same thing, right? And there are a lot of people out there that aren't being kind to her who had been in the past. And I think the reason why is because Hollywood no longer cares what she does or what she thinks. She's lost her status. And this sort of going out with a whimper is proof positive. So let's go back to what I was first talking about, the movies. Remember back in the day, two and a half years ago, around Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny coming out, the story that Sparrow put out there was the Thursday during previews. I was at the movie theater in the parking lot getting ready to go in. I didn't see a line, so I thought, I'll give it a couple more minutes, sit in the car, listen to music, and just gather my thoughts before I go in. And that was a wise decision because Cameron called and said, I just got off the phone from Sparrow, and they said that lawyers from Burbank showed up like the Nazgul from Lord of the Rings. And in fact, the head of these, I'm going to say Iger's goons, was the guy that they called the Witch King of Burbank. And he seemed like a pretty nasty bit of work. But they wanted all the emails. They wanted everything. They want to know exactly what's going on. Now, I want you guys to remember, we're talking about what is estimated to be a $14 billion loss, okay? And there were plenty of reasons why they were up there. It wasn't only just to get to the bottom and probably of the Gina Carano thing and the Karen McCarthy thing, but the money that was first put out there for the acolyte that Disney did not want to do. They did not want to spend money on it. They didn't give it the green light. And Kathy, thinking she was bulletproof, gave it the green light herself, and where'd the money come from? And we had thought, I mean, going right to the thing, that it could be USAID money. So, and that actually, this financial stuff could actually be one of the reasons why these guys showed up. And then, of course, we have the story of July 3rd, 2023, where they had a meeting. I'm going to assume it was a Zoom meeting, only because Kathy, the next day on the 4th of July, was literally in Paris, if I remember right, where she was accusing Bob Iger of everything at Disney that was a failure was his fault. And ultimately, you know, I can see that line of thinking. But, you know, you don't tell the boss that. Again, this is her at the time thinking she had allies, that she had friends, that she was bulletproof. But if you remember a couple of weeks before, at the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny premiere, Steven Spielberg pretty much canceled her in front of everybody. So obviously, Kathy really didn't have any respect for Mr. Spielberg, or she probably would have not done what she did, but she went after Bob Iger. And Bob Iger, you know, I've talked about this before. Bob Iger is an easygoing guy. He's a politician, and I don't see him really liking to get angry or upset. It does, look, people like that look at anger and all the rest of this crap as being not good. It doesn't push the ball forward, right? Well, he lost his shit from what Sparrow told Cameron. They said, you know, Kathy was accusing him of favoring Kevin Feige because he was a man, blah, blah, blah. That look, misogyny is her fallback, default position. Every time she fails. They didn't like it because they're misogynists. No, we didn't like it because it was garbage and disrespectful, and you let a bunch of weasels run around Lucasfilm without any checks or balances, right? And, you know, that's what she did. Look, she has to be aware enough to understand that the movie was a failure, and no, it wasn't the fans' fault. It was, I'm going to say it, I like James Mangold, but the movie was a shitty movie because of Kathy shoving Phoebe Waller-Bridge down everybody's throat. The avatar for every movie that she ever made as president of Lucasfilm: skinny, vegan, parasitical, brunette, British landed gentry bitch, which is exactly what Rey is, because she's played by one, and of course Phoebe Waller-Bridge. There you go. Okay, so we're all sitting there looking at this going, you know, there's a reason why she didn't get the Viking funeral, that she went out with a whimper, okay? And it's pretty obvious if you start looking at everything. And in the face of a $14 billion deficit, damn right, she went out with a whimper. She's lucky she's not in prison. Anyway, let's talk more about this on the flip side.
Do it for me, milady, please. The thought of keeping you is unbearable.
I've been basking in it for the last 30 minutes. My God. I feel like a seafront village after the Vikings have left.
I think there was an assumption being made for quite a while that girls didn't care about Star Wars, or that girls weren't identifying with characters like Luke Skywalker or Han Solo. They were only identifying with Princess Leia.
Argle, gargle, google, goo.
What?
Now you know how it feels. What are you talking about?
So how did a $14 billion deficit occur? Well, when the first movie comes out and people were supercharged to see it and left disappointed, and it makes what, over $2 billion, 2 point whatever billion. That movie might have done well, but it was a message to people in the fandom that what you want, we're not making. And one of the things she said that really kind of pisses me off is she said there's a small vocal minority of the fans who wanted the same old, same old. I don't understand what she meant by that, because I don't think she understood what the same old is, right? Because really, The Force Awakens is exactly the same old. You have basically an orphan living her life out on a desert planet. Gee, that's really a reach. She ends up running across, basically, Finn is a herald, and then gets involved and meets an older mentor, Han Solo. And that's basically the same story as the original Star Wars, right? So, same old. Disrespect the original trilogy, disrespect the original trilogy actors, and start to curb stomp George's legacy without being aware she's doing it. And if she is aware she's doing it, she's eviler than I thought she was. Or should I say, more evil than I thought she was. We didn't want the same old, Kathy. We wanted George's story to continue. And when you say that's what you did, you didn't. All you did was make a soft reboot of A New Hope and then give the franchise over to a guy who never made a big tentpole movie, who disparaged Star Wars fans, and from what I can see, hated Mark Hamill and George Lucas. And I'm going to say Carrie Fisher. All right. What a mean-spirited fuck you to the fans and George that The Last Jedi is. But because The Force Awakens really was the gateway drug to utter depraved filth in The Last Jedi, it didn't make the money that Disney thought it would make. I mean, I can see Bob Iger looking at it going, telling Willow that night, honey, I really want to like this movie. I mean, it's a beautifully made movie, technically. The story sucks. The acting sucked. And Rian Johnson hates Star Wars. He hates George Lucas. Then we get JJ trying to fix what was broken and made it worse, right? This is the beginning of that $14 billion loss, okay? Then we have, the mediocrity, which is the Book of Boba Fett. Now, I did like it, but compared to Mandalorian, no, right? Think about the losses that were incurred by Solo: A Soy War Story. The losses that were incurred by Dial of Destiny. And before any black pills show up and start screaming ageist shit about Harrison Ford, might I remind you that he was doing things in that movie that you've never done in your lives, because I guarantee you, you're terrified of horses. Okay? That's one thing I know about these motherfuckers, is that they're terrified of horses. And, you know, it's just bigoted bullshit. Okay? So, is it Harrison Ford's fault? No, of course not. Phoebe Waller-Bridge gets introduced and tears the movie apart. Because we wanted an Indiana Jones adventure. Instead, we got an adventure with Indy being the sidekick of a British stick insect with no soul. Basically, Kathy Kennedy's Avatar. And it's like, can we have a conversation here? Why did you do it this way? Right? But again, look at what we were told about the $14 billion. Look at the fact that in July of 2023, Thursday of previews for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the Nazgul show up in San Francisco, and they wanted the books and the emails, okay? The Witch King of Burbank and his riders, okay? And it's like, okay, what's going on here? You look at what Soderbergh was shown, the Disney books, and him backing away from making... What a stupid idea. Let's make a Ben Tholo movie. And the only reason why anybody would ever come up with that is to save the reputation of the character, because I know for a fact Adam Driver did not want to play him at first. He didn't. It took him 4 months to decide. And, you know, I look at this and go, you're trying to save the character, and it's not going to work, because false compassion doesn't work with us, A. And B, the character sucks. Diary of a Wimpy Villain, okay? So there you go. You don't get to kill Han Solo and get a movie. Fuck you, asshole. You know, and Soderbergh saw the losses back in 2021 and did not want to owe Disney money. And, you know, over the last 2.5 years, Kennedy sold the Palisades house. She wanted $22 million for it. She got 12, and then sold their socially responsible art collection. Why? Why? Did she owe Disney money? On what? For what? What reason? Think about it. $14 billion deficit. And she doesn't get the accolades and the Viking funeral. I know why. Because of the $14 billion deficit. And, you know, you can blame Iger all you want, but her people could have been playing with the books too. You know, we'll talk more about that later. Anyway, this is Steph. See you around the galaxy.
Ready, everybody?
All set.
Here we go again.